All right, Greg. I think we can go ahead and get started. Anybody who's straggling should be able to pick us up in the presentation. So, hey guys, thanks for joining us. We're going to have a Works for the Next webinar with Ness Corporation. It's actually based out of Australia. They're going to tell us about the M1 device and what they've done to integrate it into Powered by NX products, X-Witness VMS. So, Greg, would you like to take over and introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Tony. Yeah, for those who haven't met me, I'm Greg Kingsley, the product manager here at Ness. We've been working with M1 for a while and obviously with NX quite a few years as well, and joining the two together makes it a very powerful solution, which we'll run through. There. Just a little bit about Ness. Ness Corporation, which was formerly known as Ness Security Products, we were founded back in 1972, so we've got a bit of a track record of working in the security industry. The company was formed by two brothers who started installing alarm systems, but soon realised that the products out there weren't matching what they really need and what the market needed. So they started designing our own products. We've grown that we've now got 10 different divisions, from security products to CCTV, integrated solutions, medical solutions, etc. So we have expanded, and we've been working close with Elk products out of the States, where the M1 comes from, for well over 15 years now. So we've got a good record on there. In regards to the M1, what I'd like to do before we just quickly show you the integration with NX is to show you a little bit what the M1 is, because obviously for those who are not familiar with the M1, then the whole thing would be wouldn't make a great deal of sense to you. But the M1 can be used for any different application, whether it be residential, business, commercial, etc. And we'll get back to that in a moment. The beauty of it is, first of all, the M1 is designed around being security conscious. It's very secure, whether it be on the data bus that it runs out, whether it be remote connection. It's flexible, so integrators can use the third-party products they're used of, obviously, whether it be NX, whether it be their own lighting system, their AV system. So whatever the SI is familiar with using, they can still use this in conjunction with the M1, and we'll have a look at what that can expand to. The system's expandable, so you can start off as small as you want, a small little residential system, and as I mentioned, larger zone capacity areas, right up to commercial premises. The M1 is simple to program. We're not going to turn this into a training course as in programming, but you'll see in a moment just how easy and how flexible it is, that you can write your own rule of what feature you want in the system. And it's easy for remote access. You can remote access it either for programming with the RP programming software, or remote access for apps, etc., to fully control the system remotely using an app. As I mentioned, no matter what size system, whether it be residential, commercial, it can be tailored for a multitude of different applications. It makes it very powerful that once you know one system, you can then continuously use that for multiple applications that you come across. The system is fully powerful in the sense that it starts off on the main board, 16 zones, and it can expand up to 208 zones. And out of those 208 zones, 144 of them can be wireless. So it's a hybrid system. You can put some hardwired zones, some wireless zones onto the system, and you can then mix and match, of course. There's 13 outputs on the main board, which is powerful on a lot of security systems as standard, but that can be expanded up to 208 outputs. So effectively, you've got a 208 input, 205 output, almost if you want a programmable logic control, if you want to use it for those sort of applications. 199 users of who can arm and disarm the system, access control, 8 area partitioning. You've got 6 arming levels, so you can arm in away, vacation, stay, night, etc. Built-in astronomic clock, so if you want to turn, for example, lights on and off in a car park at sunset, the system will know when sunrise and sunset, when to turn those lights on and off. Again, great for interfacing with CCTV systems as well. There's 3 different main keypads that we've got: the LCD keypad, the touchscreen, the arming station that can be used perhaps in a garage warehouse where you don't want the full display near the main entrance points. You can mix and match up to 16 keypads to fully control the system. And each keypad has function buttons, whether it be 4 or 6 function buttons on the system. They can be fully programmed for whatever you want to do. So they could be out of the factory set for police, fire, medical, but you have the flexibility to be able to change those buttons to operate whatever you want. Maybe unlock a gate, turn a sprinkler system on and off, cue a PTZ preset on NX Witness, etc. So they're fully programmable of what you want to use them for. What can be integrated with the M1 is pretty well anything electrical, whether it be fans, lights, thermostats, floor coverings, you name it, it can be done. That could either be on a low level for a relay output directly out of the M1 or a high voltage relay output, or it can be via high level to third-party products. That's just a small sample on the screen, whether it be C-Bus, Control Ford, Vantage Air, Dakin, Crestron, AMX, etc. That's just a small sample of what there's high-level interfaces for when interfacing to the M1 to those third-party products. So it can be used for a variety of applications. It could work, the M1 can work as a cross-platform controller. So, for example, something happens on a Control 4 system, can go to an M1 and we pass it onto the CCTV to perhaps bring the camera up full screen or cue a camera. So that's where the beauty of the M1, it can work as the hub to control everything. Access control. This M1 has access control built in. We can control up to 16 points of access control with 199 users. If you need more enhanced access control features, we interface to either Hikvision 4-door controller, Verdi 4-door controller that can be built up to multiple doors, hundreds of doors type of thing. And obviously then tying that with NX Witness, as an event occurs on an access control door, we can then get perhaps a PTZ to zoom in, have a look at who's coming through the door, cue a camera, start recording or whatever you want to do, bookmark that event when that event occurs for access control. So again, it ties it together as one nice complete package. There's apps that you can use for the M1, and that can be either the new cloud app that is with full push notifications, or the old M1 Touch Pro, the e-keypad apps, that is a one-off fee, or we've got the M1 To Go software, which can run on a Windows-based PC, and we'll have a quick demo of that in a moment when we have a look at a live system. We've also got voice control with M1. So anything you can get to operate the M1 via voice control. And the beauty with that is that it will sync all the data out of the M1, all the output names, the zone names, the tasks, the lights, etc. And if you don't want to control a device, because you may not want to have voice control of your front door or the garage door, for example, you don't want someone standing outside and say, open the door, you can select which ones you want to control and which ones you can't. To program the system, you can program it from the keypad, 80% of it, but all the automation functions have to be programmed from the software. So we recommend to program from RP software. And you can connect to that in mainly 2 basic ways, is either direct connect with RS-232 or via the Ethernet module, and that can be local or remote. So at the moment with social isolation, if your customer needs some programming done on the system, you can program that remotely on the system without even visiting site. To program it, all you have to do is know how to type and know how to check a checkbox. And if you know that, for example, with a user code, you type in the person's name, give them a user code up here, select what areas they're allowed to go to, can they arm and disarm the system, save it, and that's how simple it is. If we're putting zones in, just give the zone name, what area it belongs to, how you want it to work. Is it going to be an entry-exit delay, or is it going to be an instant zone, etc. Save that, and again, the zones programming. And the same for keypads, where you can give the keypads a name. What do you want the functions buttons to do? Police, fire, medical, turn a light on and off, cue a camera, etc. It's just tick a box and you've done. But the other thing that makes it powerful is that in addition to the normal standard security systems that you get that are pre-programmed in the system, you can write whatever rule you want to do. And that's whenever, and then. So any rule can be tripped by a whenever. For example, whenever a door opens, whenever a light turns on, whenever something happens, then you want to do something else. And this example, whenever the front door becomes not secure, whenever we open the front door, then we can get the system to do something, turn a light on, cue a camera, do whatever you want to do on the system. And that can be then qualified by an AND function. And on this example here, whenever the front door becomes not secure, when someone opens the front door and it's dark outside, then turn the front porch light on. So the light's not going to be turning on and off during the day. So that is a quick example of any rule that you want to write. And when you're writing the whenever, and then, you get a list of functions that you can do. So really anything that can occur on the M1, you can get to write a rule for, even when the telephone is ringing, get it to do something. And it's important to kind of know that sort of flexibility, because when we move into the integration with NX, we use the same type of rule writing in the NX interface as what we do in the M1 itself to, again, add that power and the flexibility. If we have just a quick look now at a demonstration, it's hard to show a security system remotely, but what we'll do is, this is our M1 to go software. And the M1 to go software can be great for an end user, can load onto a PC to control the system, but it's also as a great commissioning tool when you're installing a system. You might want to test lights, turning lights on and off. You might want to turn outputs on and off, activate a task to make sure it's working. So you can do all that from the PC rather than doing it from the keypad, which obviously everything we're about to show can be done from the keypad as well. So as an example here, if I go to lighting, I can dim a light. I can drag that up and dim the light, turn it on and off, etc. But I've also got a Google Assistant here, so we can do it via voice. So anything that can occur on voice, I can do it. So as an example, hey Google, set bedroom lamp to 55%. So that was done via Google with a voice control. Hey Google, turn bedroom lamp off. So you can see there we can have voice control on the system, especially at the moment with this virus going around. You don't even have to touch light switches if you didn't want. You've got the control via the Google Home, or obviously via Amazon Alexa, via Siri, etc. Now, in addition to be able to control anything via voice, we can also use the assistant, the Google Home voice, or speaker, I should say, when an event occurs on an M1 to get it to do something. And if we, for example, arm the system, I've got it set up that when the system is armed, it can speak something. So if I arm my area here, when we arm it,
training room area is now armed to away mode.
And if I disarm, we got the same function when we disarm.
Training room area is now disarmed.
So we can hear that voice coming out, and that could be the same with anything. And a garage door opens, a warehouse roller door opens, you can get the voice to come out wherever you want. So that was just a very quick demonstration that we can control anything with voice. We can arm and disarm. We can do everything from the keypad, etc.
Hey, Greg, a question came in that seems relevant from Patrick.
Yes.
Which is it HomeKit capable?
Yes, certainly is. Yes. Yep.
There you go, Patrick.
In regard to the voice coming out, it only comes out of Google. Google. It doesn't come out. The voice doesn't come out of HomeKit or Amazon Alexa. It only comes out if you want the voice to feedback of when something happens. But as in controlling the system, yeah, you can use HomeKit. So you can use Siri on your iPhone, etc. Or Amazon, etc., and you can mix and match, of course. Okay. So in relation to interfacing with NX, we've had ever since I think the M1's been interfaced or came out, a lot of questions asked, can we control CCTV, etc. And there's a lot of applications you could use it, because The main one being is that when an intruder alarm occurs, someone wants to have video verification of the alarm. That's the most common request. Obviously, you can get motion on a camera, can activate event, but to arm and disarm the cameras when you've armed the premises, things like that, it makes it a lot harder. The other thing is if the customer's got a control room, you want to be able to, you're viewing multiple cameras and an event occurs, motion in a warehouse occurs, and you've got 64 cameras on the screen. You might want to be able to quickly bring up the camera that's got the motion in without doing anything. How quick can you find video? So with NX, we can then get it to bookmark events, etc. The other thing is how to activate automation events. I want to, from my NX Witness or the CCTV, the VMS system, to be able to open a boom gate, to be able to unlock a door, turn a light on so I can see better in that camera, etc. So we can do that all in the one interface. So what we have the ability to be able to do is obviously get video verification when an alarm occurs. Now I believe, think this is not confidential, but I believe that NX are bringing out push notifications that when an event occurs. So we could do an event that when something happens on the security system, send a push notification out of NX. We can get it that when we arm and disarm a system, for example, we might bookmark that event to be able to play it back a lot easier. We can get voice control to bring a camera up, etc. We're going to have a demonstration of that later. When we have soft triggers, for example, on NX, we can get the soft triggers to turn an output on, open and lock, or turn a light on and off, etc. So as an example of that, we might have a vehicle drives up to a boom gate. When they go over a loop or a beam, it might bring that camera up full screen for the operator. And then from there, they can then use the soft trigger on NX to unlock the output of an M1, which opens and gates if they haven't got access control, etc. So they're just some small examples by tying the two systems together that we can have control over. How we interface with NX is using the NX Server API. So we can install the NX Bridge, or the Ness Bridge, I should say, software onto any NX server, or alternatively, it can be onto any PC or any server that's on the network. So for example, you might have 3 or 4 NX servers in a hive. You just need to load that software onto one of the servers or onto a Windows-based PC that's running all the time on the same network. And we then interface the two together. Anything occurs on the M1, we can get it to go to that Ness Bridge software that can control on the NX system. And as I said, if you have, in this example, 3 servers on a hive, we only need to load that on one because obviously NX then works as one large system. How easy it is to join the two together is this is just a small GUI of the bridge. So it might be easier to jump out of this presentation at this stage, and we'll show you a live system might be a lot better. I'll just bring up my GUI for it, which I did have here. Just bear with me while I bring it over to that screen. Bear with us.
Any questions at all, guys? While Greg's looking for the M1 dashboard, I know what it feels like to give a demo. I lost the Q&A there for a second.
Here we go. Okay, so this is the GUI for the dashboard or the Ness Bridge itself. So simply what we do is when we click onto M1, all we need to do is put the M1's IP address and port number that's set in the M1 XEP. We save and connect, and when we hit synchronize, it will pull all the data out of the M1, synchronizes all the zone names, output names, lights, etc. It will then synchronize because you've already programmed it in RP, so you don't want to program it again. So we synchronize to get it into our GUI. We do the same with NX Witness interface. We hit NX Witness, we put in the IP address of one of the servers that it's loaded on. port number, username and password. We can then save that and checks the connection. We're checking that we can log in, yet we're authorized so we know we're communicating. And what we can do, we can ignore virtual cameras if you don't want to have any virtual cameras on there. And if we want, we can only show cameras that are being recorded, because obviously it's not much use bookmarking an event that's not being recorded, etc. When we synchronize camera names, it goes to the NX network and will download all the camera names, because again, you've already programmed them in NX, warehouse camera, front door camera, whatever. You don't want to have to do it in here again. So we get the camera names, and then we go to camera rules, and that's how easy it is to interface the two. And similar to the M1, we write rules. When we click on rules, we have whenever then. So whenever something happens, then do something. So as an example, whenever an area is armed or area is disarmed, whenever an area M1 is turned on and off, whenever a zone changes. So as an example here, if we click on zones, whenever the front door, and we have a look here, we've got a list of all the zone names that were synchronized, although I haven't got many names in my example here. We pick up the zone names that have been programmed in RP, and that can be when that zone becomes not secure, becomes secure. When it's in alarm, someone's bypassed or unbypassed that zone, it can do something. So if, for example, if I put when the front door is in alarm, in other words, when the front door causes an alarm on the M1, then we can do something on NX. What do we want it to do? We can bookmark a camera, we can activate a generic event, we can send an email with 3 snapshots. And if we want to, for example, send an email, we can have 3 snapshots, one at the time of the event, and then we can also set up, if I click on here, we can select, you could put who's going to send the email to, subject, the body of the email. We've got a list of the cameras from NX that was synchronized. So for example, I might want to put showroom camera. We can have a pre-event time and a post-event time. So example, if we have a pre-event at 5 seconds, a post-event at 5 seconds, the 3 snapshots I'll get one at 5 seconds before the event, one at the event, and one 5 seconds after the event. Obviously, NX can send that out with the NX generic event as well, but we've also got the option to have it in here. Other things we can do is obviously connect bookmark. So if we want to bookmark a camera, we select what camera that we want to do. You can have caption on that bookmark, for example, security system, area 1's armed, front door's gone into alarm, whatever what you want to have on the caption. So whenever you're playing video back and you're searching through your bookmarks on NX, it makes it nice and quick and easy to be able to find that video. And the other one that we've got is the generic event. So if we then put a description in there, alarm activated at front door, or maybe what you want it to do. So for example, show warehouse camera, for example. What we'd normally do would be copy and paste that. So I highlight that, copy it, and save it. And then I'd use that into the camera rules of NX. And then we can save that rule. If I just go back for some that was saved, here's some that was saved previously. And you'll see there that this one, rule number 3, has got a red line up the top. And that means that that rule, we've disabled that rule. So you can enable or disable a rule. We can test rules from here and obviously go back and edit them. Now, if I bring, for example, my NX system up, and if I go to my camera rules, drag this over to the screen we're sharing, and this is where we can have some generic events. So, for example, if I bring up this one here, when we activate a generic event in NX, show camera rules was what I, for example, cut and pasted from my other rule that I had there. When that comes up, set that camera to full screen. What camera do I want to do? So let's have an example of doing it. I can do it, for example, from from NX, from my RP, I should say. So let me first of all, let's say bring this camera up full screen, which is our warehouse. And rather than me run downstairs and open the roller door on the warehouse, I can simulate it with the RP software, M1 to go, I should say. And I'm just going to simulate the warehouse roller door open. So we've got a rule written that when the warehouse roller door opens, get the PTZ to go around to a preset to have a look what's going on. So if I simulate what's happening on this warehouse roller door opening, you'll see the PTZ automatically scan around to the roller door, etc. So that was just a very small example what you might want to do. The other thing we can do, if I go back to full screen, we can also then use Google to control it. So again, we don't have to touch anything, the risk of getting a virus. We'll use our voice instead. So as an example, we can go, hey Google, show training room. So out of all the cameras that we've got listed on a layout, we can then just get that to automatically pop up on a layout. The lights are off in the training room. So again, we can then turn the lights on and off. We can do it manually or we can do it via voice. So let's do it both ways. Hey Google, turn training room light on. Okay, and then it will, there we go, turn the training room light on. We've got a C-bus lighting system here that we're turning the lights on and off with. Hey Google.
This is some futuristic stuff right here, I gotta say. Like yes. With these guys showed me this about a month ago with the the voice control and everything, and it's something that I've wanted to see for a long time because the Google Home, all these things came out. And I've been pushing our developers to, hey, take a look at this. Take a look at this. We could use this to control things. You could use this in a control room environment. You could use this in lots of different ways. And unfortunately, we just haven't had the dev resources to get into it. But it's very compelling to imagine, walking into a room, getting a notification maybe on a phone that something's going on, and then just saying to your Google Assistant in that room, hey, can you pull this up on that camera for me? Right? It's just really impressive because you don't even need to get near a computer to have it do this functionality as long as the desktop client is running over there. So I'm assuming you can do the same thing with the video wall layouts. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. Anything that you can occur on the M1, you can then just bring that layout up and just we're just running a generic event. So what we got is Google Home going to an M1, and then the M1 is just activating a generic event on NX. So anything that occurs on a generic event on an NX, you can get, you can voice control it.
Yeah, I can even imagine a situation where you have guards who have a video wall monitor running where they don't even have a keyboard really, and they're just interacting with it using voice commands. Yeah, yeah. And having the Google Assistant tell them what to pay attention to, like, oh, this is going on at this gate. Okay, show me that gate. So it's a really unique feature set. Sorry, go ahead, Greg. I just think that's cool.
I was going to say we could also do that if a vehicle drives up at a boom gate, goes over a loop, it can bring it up full screen, and then via Google Home, you can then get it to enunciate, vehicle is pulled into whatever you want it to say, up to the front gate, etc. So as it one step further would be like add license plate recognition, get the license plate number, and have Google read it off to you. Yeah, exactly. That's it. That's the next step for sure. Yeah. We've also got soft triggers here. So with the soft triggers, we can obviously turn a light on and off. So we can have a look and say, look, no one's in that training room. We can turn that light off from there, and the light turns off. And obviously, if we want to see what's going on there, if we haven't got voice control, we can then manually turn that light on and off. So that can be used for a variety of things. Obviously, turning a light on and off. It can also be used for perhaps opening a gate. So when we open a gate, we can then activate an M1 output if they haven't got an access control. So it works nice and easy. And if you wanted to, you could also arm an area via here as well. So if we want to arm that area, I can then arm that area and we'll hear it coming through.
Training room area is now armed to away mode.
And for example, I can even tie that in with the lighting. So when the area is armed, it would automatically turn the lights off if I had that programmed in the M1.
Yeah,
So,
another application I could see of this would be like in clean environments where you're not even able to use your hands per se. To kind of arm and disarm the right now with COVID-19. I'm sure there are many labs and secure areas where you need to make sure that things get locked behind you and everything. So just the ability to do everything hands-free opens up an entire new set of applications and solutions that you guys can offer to your customers who have this kind of rare requirement that I can't really touch anything, but I need to be able to control the system. So.
Yeah, exactly right. And that can either be done by voice on your phone, or even I've seen a customer has actually put a Google Dot next to their keypad, and they're controlling everything via voice from that. And you can even set it up with code. So rather than just telling it to arm the system, you can say arm the system code, 2468, and it does it. Now, obviously, anyone else listening to that can still, say for security reasons, you'll have to look at every application, of course. But you can train the Google to your voice if you want to go to that extreme.
Yeah, well, some of our face recognition partners also have shown that the face recognition algorithms, deep learning stuff, actually recognizes people even with masks on. So you could then have it do dual factor authentication, where it's you need the face to be present, but you also need the voice command to open the door. So there's all sorts of stuff I could see people doing with this that gets really advanced really quickly.
All right, so that probably gives hopefully a good overview. If anyone's got any more questions, then probably a good time to look at them now.
Yeah, one of the questions was elk products in the United States. This is an elk product from the United States, is that right?
100% yes. So in the US comes from elk, yes.
But the integration with NX Witness is the Ness Bridge product that you guys have. Is that correct?
That's right. It's a Ness Bridge. We're using exact same protocol. So obviously the software, etc., for the M1 is done by Elk Products, but the voice control via the Google, the Ness Bridge for NX to M1 interface, we did here in Australia. So we work close with Elk, so they're available obviously from Elk as well.
So that Ness Bridge is your software. Is that right?
That's correct. That's our software, yes.
So if they want all these features that you're showing and they're based out of the US, they should just contact you for a discussion about how the product.
That's correct. Right? Yeah. So all they need to do is we can supply the software from here. They get the M1 from Elk in the States, and the two work together. 100% the same.
For our Powered by NX partners who may have a different brand, would you guys be willing to rebrand it?
The Ness Bridge to rebrand it, yeah, we should be able to certainly talk to them for that, yeah.
I'm not making you commit to anything. I'm just asking the question.
Sure, yes.
Okay. Anybody else have questions out there? What type of integration is it? SDK integration or XML? It's a REST API level integration, so it's HTTP requests being sent back and forth between different devices in the system. Correct, Greg?
That's correct. One thing I should have mentioned in regards to coming back the other way from the M1. If I go into my camera rules here, and for soft triggers, for example, when I turn the light on or off, if I do this one, this one here, we're using webhooks. So all we do is when that soft trigger of turning a light off comes up, we're using a webhook. So we put in basically the IP address of the Ness Bridge, port number, webhook, and then what you want it to do. Turn a light number 10 off, light number 10 on, light number 5 to 50% if you wanted to do that. So we're just using the webhook. So when you activate that soft trigger, it's just sending that webhook to our bridge, and the bridge passes it onto the M1 as, what function you want it to do. So that could be turning a light on and off, activating an M1 task, turning an output on and off from an M1, etc. So that's all we're using. So it's nice and basic going back to the M1, and then the API from NX is just generic in the background.
If they get the M1 from Elk and they get the software from you, Is there any dependencies in terms of like the firmware on the Elk product? Does it need to be changed or anything?
No, 100% the same. We run exactly the same firmware in Australia as we do in the US, so there's no issues at all.
And then in terms of future proofing for upgrades, I mean, our server API is going to be consistent. I assume Elk is kind of the same practice. They don't do breaking changes in the way that their APIs work.
That's right. The Elk API has been pretty much the same for 15 years that we know of. So yeah, there's I can't see any issues of that changing. Not on the M1 anyway. Yeah.
How do you get access to the product is one of the questions. So Richard asked the question, how do we get access to the product? Well, I think we went over that briefly a second ago, but basically you can, it depends on which market you're in, right? If you're in the Australian market, you can contact Ness and they can give you the whole package, right? If you're outside of Australia, like the North American market, then you could purchase the M1 device directly from Elk. And then we'll try and put some contact information for Elk up on the webinar later this week in the my.networkoptix.com kind of customer portal. There's going to be a new webinar section there with all the webinars we're giving and the presentations and the links to contact the people who are involved with each presentation. So we'll put a link up there, Richard, for you to get in contact with Elk. If you're in North America, if you're in Australia, the link will be there for Ness and Greg as well.
Yes.
All right. Any more questions out there? Anything, guys? We got 20 minutes left in the time budget for this, but we don't have to use them all. If there are no questions, maybe you just explained it too well, Greg.
Either that or they're asleep. All right. Well, if anyone's got any more questions that come to mind later on, by all means, we're just in the process at the moment of doing a full training video of, pretty much what we went over, setting the system up, what webhooks, etc. are there, as well as the manual, and that will be on the Works with NX website as well in the next couple of days.
Larry asked the question we always hear: will this work with Wave or Spectrum? Yeah, the server API is consistent across all Powered by NX products. So anything that's integrated with one of our developer tools is going to work with all of the Powered by NX products. That includes NX Witness, Wave, Spectrum, and 20 other different brands around the world of product that are out there. Any more questions, guys? Or ladies, if you're out there. Okay, well, Greg, you want to throw up your contact information at the end of the presentation?
Yep, sure. I'll bring that up here. Whoops, we'll go back a page, I think. There we go. Yeah, so if you've got any inquiries, just send them to myself at m1support@ness.com.au. Or we're just in the process of finalising a NX Bridge or Ness Bridge download or information page, I guess. That should be live in the next week, and that's at nesscorporation.com/NX Bridge. And that will have, as I said, the videos that we're putting together on how to set it up, where you can download the software, the manuals, etc. But it's not up at the moment. It should be up. Definitely, the target was the 1st of May, but we should have it up a little bit earlier.
I have a question. How long? There's another question that came in, and I have an individual question. So the first question that came in was, can they export events from the M1 to some reporting system?
The event log, presume they're meaning. Can we export the event log? You can do that through M1 to go. So if I bring the M1 to go software up.
And it's like a CSV file?
Yes. So if we go to event log, we can get all events on the system here. And then we can export it as a text file. And then once you get that text file, you can then import it as a CSV.
Yeah. My question is more about how long did it take you guys to do this?
In
Like
theory,
where did the idea come from? And then how long did it take you to take your idea and make it into this?
okay, so the idea has been around for many years. Once we started working on it and kept working on it, it's probably because the APIs into NX is very simple. The M1 APIs are also, or SDKs, simple as well. So putting the both together, it's only probably taken about a month. But in saying that, we've probably gone off a few different tangents and trying different things what we could do. So now that we've got this running good, it probably hasn't taken us a great deal. It's just a matter of resources of keeping the person doing it full time.
So is one person about a month?
About one person about a month. They're about full time. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Well, Elle asked if there's a demo version to try. I think you already answered that, which is that this link here is going to have the demo version or the download for the Ness Bridge software.
Full download. That's right. The software is free, so the beauty of it is that, and obviously from our point of view, it's more of a means of an ends of selling more M1s, obviously, and NX licenses in Australia, and obviously NX license around the world, and for the US as well. It's obviously in the same boat. So
I'm assuming if someone is if one of our partners or Powered by NX partners is interested in getting this branded for themselves, then you guys could work out a business deal so that you can maintain it and add new features and all that kind of good stuff, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yes. Yep. They've dropped me an email at M1 support, and then we can talk to them.
Larry asked a question: can you run the Bridge software on the same server as the VMS? You mentioned this earlier. The answer is yes. My follow-up question is on Linux and Windows?
Correct, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so, we are looking at perhaps even packaging it as a small little server that might be similar to like an NX1 type of thing, but a small server with 4 licenses and this on for a price. But internationally, obviously, it's a lot easier just to have the software you can load on your own server.
Absolutely. Plus, it's pretty lightweight from what it looks like, right? I mean, it's just doing requests in and out, so there's not much to it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then the next stage, what we'd like to do would be to have similar to M1 to go, is to have that built in as a web GUI into NX as well. So you can open as a web page, do arm, disarm, turn lights on and off directly from that if you wanted to as well. But because we've got apps, because we've got voice control, it's been a lower priority.
Makes sense. The presentation, we'll share it afterwards on numberguys.com and on our YouTube channel. So that will be available to everyone. Are there any more questions? All right. Well, Greg, thank you very much for taking us through the M1 and the integration you guys have done. I'm really impressed, like I was last time. I think it's pretty powerful. For me, it's like wrapping my head around the fact that it can do so many things. I think the best way to kind of approach this, if you guys are on the call, is look for a project where you need one of these feature sets, and then get engaged with Ness and the N1. So you guys can kind of wow some of the different projects you have out there and the people that you're serving, because it is a super powerful device, and the integration itself just kind of covers every single check mark that I can think of. Just the ability to do the and functionality in and of itself is huge. That's something that we've been asked about for quite some time. We're working on like a visual programming kind of update for the way that our rules engine works, but it's going to be a couple of releases before that comes out publicly. But it really does put the power of like automation in the hands of whoever is using this device, because it really, whatever you can think of, it looks like you can do with this. So it's just super impressive. And one follow-up question. So like, let's say someone has an access control, right, that's not integrated in any way. into the Powered by Next or the Works with Next ecosystem, right?
Yep.
This thing could actually be a bridge for those access control systems as well. Is that a fair statement?
That's correct. Yeah, you just need to take an output out of into an input of the M1, and the beauty with the M1 is that you can program the inputs as what we call a non-alarm input. So they work as like an automation. So when that zone is tripped perhaps by an output from the access control system, it can activate an input of the M1, not generating any alarms or sirens or anything like that, and then just work as a bridge to get across to NX to cue a camera or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, so it's kind of an end around situations where you have an access control system that may not be integrated, but the customer has it as a requirement. I mean, this is a way to make that access control be integrated meaningfully with the Powered by Next product. Really interesting stuff.
And I guess that's why we called it the Ness Bridge. It's working as a bridge between product A and product B.
Yeah, it's a great name for it. It really does bridge a lot of different things together. It just makes the video more powerful and makes the whole solution more powerful. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much, Greg. Enjoy the what is it? Is it fall weather there right now?
It is, yes. Yes.
It's always confusing talking to people in Australia. They'll be like, it's hot, and it'll be in the middle of winter. You're like, okay. So
just that we can't get outside to enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you got winter coming. Winter is coming for you guys. So
that's right. So it'd be good to stay inside.
Yeah. Yeah. We're warming up over here finally. I think it's 90 degrees in LA today. So, all right, guys. Thank you guys for attending. We appreciate your time.
All right.
And thank you, Greg. And this presentation will be up on our YouTube channel shortly, and on our my.networkoptics.com with the presentations and the links to the contact people later this week. So thank you very much, and everybody have a nice and safe day.
Okay. Thanks, Tony. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Greg. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye.